Wanted to talk to you about what Doge has been doing. So you've been making cuts to a lot of the agencies that have open investigations and regulatory battles with your companies. At the same time, you continue to get billions in government contracts. Tesla gets billions in subsidies. How do you explain that to the American people?
Well, everything that Doge does is an open book. So I think the most transparent the most transparent organization in government ever. Every single Doge action is listed on the Doge.gov website. It's also listed on the X handle. So if anyone has a concern about any one of those actions, they can bring that up. They can raise that. And I do want to say, like, sometimes we make a mistake. Nobody bats 1,000. We will at times make a mistake, we'll act very quickly to correct it. I am under such an extreme spotlight, so much scrutiny, that it's literally impossible for me to get away with anything nefarious. And obviously, nor do I wish to. So this is a case where we have radical transparency. We're actually willing to admit that we do make mistakes. Often people are not willing to admit they make mistakes, but we are. But we want to emphasize we fix them quickly, and we're trying to do the right thing for the American taxpayer, for the American people. And I think history will be the judge that what we've done here and what we're doing is a very good thing for the strength and future of America.
Former Trump White House communications director. Alyssa, with the Democratic-backed candidate winning in Wisconsin, with Republican margins shrinking in Florida, this is what Axios writes this morning. There's no positive spin on this for the GOP. It's an early verdict on President Trump and Elon Musk, and that's before this afternoon's imposition on tariffs that economists fear will cut growth. We'll get to tariffs in just a second. But first, on the political lessons learned here. If Democrats are smart, what will they take from this going forward?
Listen, I don't want to overstate this victory for Democrats yesterday. Listen, Wisconsin was a success. They've got a great party chair there. They organized. And listen, Wisconsinites did not want to see the wealthiest man in the world come in, pretend to know about the state, tell them what to do. But Florida, I mean, the polling that showed these races being closer than it was, I was always skeptical of. These are deep ruby red districts. But the momentum is on the side of Democrats right now. Republicans are kind of sitting happy. They've got the House, the Senate, the White House. They're generally happy with Trump right now. So I think this is more evidence that Democrats were looking for where to park their money. So they put a lot of money into this Florida 6 race. Obviously, this Wisconsin judge race became the most expensive judicial race in history. But what the lesson is if you're at the NRCC today, breathe a sigh of relief, but realize you've got much, much tighter seats that are up in the midterms that you should expect those margins are going to be shrinking. And today, you mentioned tariffs. That's pretty much the worst news that you could be announcing today. The number one thing Donald Trump needs to get his arms around is the cost of living, and that's where his numbers keep sinking.
Let me show some polling on tariffs, because it really is unpopular. They are with the American people. Marquette University, Marquette Law School just put out new polls this morning. 58% of voters say that tariffs will hurt the economy. Just 28% say it'll help. 58% of voters say it will increase inflation. Just 30% say it will decrease. Whatever economists say about being good or bad policy, it's just unpopular, Alyssa.
Yeah, and Fox News had a poll that said 69% of voters think tariffs are going to increase prices. So, you know, Donald Trump's favorite news network, their viewers agree. Listen, when I worked for Trump, he believes in tariffs. It's one of the core policy issues he truly thinks work. He believes in onshoring more American jobs. He thinks Americans are taken advantage of. But in the first term, there were people around him like Steve Mnuchin, Robert Lighthizer, Mike Pence, who would say, okay, use them in a targeted way as sort of leverage to get better deals for Americans, but do not do sweeping across the board tariffs. Those costs are hands down passed down to the consumers. And I'm just not convinced that those kind of advisors are there in this term. And I should wish you a happy Liberation Day today. I think that you're going to wake up tomorrow and the markets are going to be in the tank because of what he's announcing later today. And I'm just curious how long the message is going to be. There is going to be some pain for voters. Voters voted for Donald Trump because they were tired of the economic pain of the last 4 years. That does not, to me, sound like a winning or compelling message from this White House.
And one thing is clear. They're scared of the markets. They moved the announcement. You know, Elena Trina was reporting before it was supposed to be 3 p.m. Now it's 4 p.m., so the markets are closed at the time. They don't want the split screen like you're seeing right now. all the futures going down side by side with the president making the announcement on tariffs. The president's attacking some Republicans who've been squeamish on tariffs, including Mitch McConnell, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins. He says to the people of the great states of Kentucky, Alaska, and Maine, please contact these senators and get them to finally adhere to Republican values and ideals. They've been extremely difficult to deal with and unbelievably disloyal. And he goes on. Tom Tillis has also spoken out against tariffs as well. Rand Paul has spoken out against tariffs as well. I do wonder, though, given how unpopular tariffs are, if you might see this be a space where some more Republicans start to speak out a little.
I think especially wait to hear from the Senate Republicans. These tariffs will almost disproportionately hurt Republican states, agriculture states, a lot of the automotive producing states. By the way, like Michigan, where Donald Trump won, and that's a big part of his legacy. I think that senators are going to feel a lot more ability to kind of push back. And they have seen that Donald Trump we've seen this sort of putting tariffs on, pulling them back since he's been in office. And I think folks are hoping that while he may announce these sweeping tariffs, if the markets are bad enough, which he loves to look to them as an indicator, they may be able to convince him to provide some relief if things are looking really bad 2, 3, 4 weeks down the road.
There is some evidence that Donald Trump is easily spooked when it comes to the reaction to tariffs. It's happened repeatedly over this term and some last term as well. Alyssa Farrah-Griffin, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much. Kate?
Okay, guess what? It's time to talk about Donald Trump's big April the Fool's Part 2, April the 2nd. Welcome. Affectionately dubbed by the man himself as Liberation Day. That's right. This isn't your ordinary day after April Fool's joke. This is April Fool's Day 2 on financial steroids, and it's sponsored by your life savings and the global stock market. Anyway, what's on the agenda? Tariffs, and not just a few scattered duties here and there. We're talking, get this, a colossal tariff extravaganza that covers trillions and trillions of dollars worth of imports. Trump is throwing a tantrum. No, it's a tariff party, and every nation on the earth is invited, whether they like it or not. Imagine every country waking up on April the 2nd, today, find out they're on Trump's dance card. That's what's happened. You get a tariff, you get a tariff, everyone gets a tariff. Vomit in your mouth? Well, same kind of thing. Trump has framed this as Liberation Day, liberating Americans from all those bad trade deals and all their money they've got saved up. You know, those trade deals that past presidents supposedly bungled. It's all everyone else's fault. It's kind of like declaring independence from common sense. The White House lawn is set to become, after that Tesla launch, the stage for this grand declaration. Today we're going to see promise of economic revival and lots of America First banners flapping in the breeze. Tremendous. Meanwhile, economists are scrambling to figure out, well, just how much this party is going to cost. Although Fox, they think it's a party, they think it's great. Suffer the pain. There's predictions of rising prices, juiced inflation, and a bit of global market turmoil just to keep things spiky or spicy. Broke, maybe. But wait, there's more. Trump assures us that this is going to bring back, wait for it, drum roll, bad drum roll, manufacturing jobs to the good old USA. Yes, because nothing says job creation like skyrocketing prices and international trade disputes and international trade wars. China, Canada, Europe. The aim to make imports so expensive that companies rush back to set up shop in the US. Somebody needs to explain. It works both ways. But anyway, I think it's like trying to fix a leaking faucet by turning off the water supply to the entire town. Good luck with that move. Anyway, as for the rest of the world, well, let's be honest, not exactly RSVPing with glee. Tariffs might be great for a laugh, and as I said, a punchline on Fox News, etc. Economic chaos theory, but for global trade, not so much. Countries around the world are already hinting at retaliation. The global economy is sitting there nervously, that's the truth. kind of laughing at the party invites, hoping it's all just an elaborate prank. Unfortunately, it's real. Anyway, there you have it, folks. April the 2nd. You're not going to forget April the 2nd, 2025. Your calendars forever. It will be etched, etched, etched. Trump plans to turn international economics into, well, I'd say a reality TV show, but he's already doing The Apprentice Does the White House Part 2. More plot twists than the season finale of any financial show you can think of, and whether it ends with fireworks or fire sales, well, we'll just have to, I wouldn't say tune in and see, live it. It's right there in front of you. And if Trump or anyone in the Republican Party is listening, I hope you appreciate the jokes, because like all good comedy, the truth hurts, and some people are going to, sorry the world, they're going to get screwed, broke, and things probably aren't going to go as the administration intended. We just hope that's not you, it's not you, it's nobody we know in our phone. Fingers crossed that somebody gets some liberation somewhere. Do I sound sarcastic?
So I want to close back where we started, about us, about why I'm here. I believe that there is an urgent crisis in our country that we are not talking about. It's not a left-right crisis, it's a right-wrong crisis. It's a moral moment, and again, in America, that's going to define our character, about who we are and what we stand for. There's a threat to the bedrock commitments we've made to each other as a country. People are threatening that bedrock commitment of Social Security. They're calling it a Ponzi scheme. They're making up absolute lies about it. When I read American after American who said that that is their lifeline, they told stories that if they don't get their Social Security payment, or they get caught up because nobody's answering their calls, if the rural Social Security office, I read states, red and blue, where they're closing Social Security offices, if I now have to drive not 100 miles, but 150 miles at 93 years old, it doesn't quite make sense. One of my colleagues stood up here and said, that's already a cut in benefits if you can't access the folks. I stood here because there's a threat to these bedrock commitments. The bedrock commitment we've made in healthcare in this country. We won the defense of the Affordable Care Act, but my colleagues know when you start talking about Medicaid, that's not 20 plus million Americans. It's 70, 80, 90 million Americans. It's our elders in nursing homes. It's our children with disabilities. It's our moms giving birth, that are still giving birth in the country with about the highest maternal mortality rates in the industrial world. It's a moral moment. Who do we stand for? Like Schumer shocked me when he said they're going to use some kind of budget gimmick to push this through. He shocked me, Chuck. I thought this was going to come down to the parliamentarian, but it doesn't sound like it now. It's just going to get done. With the math, and I read from Manhattan Institute criticized it on the right. AEI criticized it on the right. They said, what are you doing? What are you doing, America? You're going to rake up trillions and trillions of dollars in debt that our children and our children's children are going to have to pay for, passing the bucks that will grow. Are you doing that to help people get more access to health care, more access to retirement security, more access to the things we believe in, big ideas like universal child care, paid family leave? No, we're doing that in order to renew the tax cuts that I read conservative budget folks, moderate budget folks, all across the spectrum who said it will blow up our deficit. And the benefits of those tax cuts, not all, let's not use hyperbole, but most will go to the richest people in our country, who I promise you, I celebrate people who've brought their ingenuity and their expertise and their grit and their tireless work, who've built wealth in this country. Should not be us versus them, but I'm telling you that those folks do not need another tax cut. And the corporations who came here, you all remembered, said we would like a 25% rate. The people I read said, that when we kicked it to 21, not even what they were asking for from 35, it exploded. One of the main reasons it exploded our debt. And we read from conservative groups who just said all these promises that we would grow our way out of our deficit, they didn't materialize. All the promises that were made. Trump, for those who don't remember or weren't here when I read it, was going around telling folks that, oh, my tariffs, this is 2017, my tariffs, the money that I get, that will be what we could pay down the debt. The math that they did was that would account for about 1/750th of the debt at that time. But he used that money to try to compensate the farmers that he was hurting with his tariffs. This is a moral moment, and people are getting hurt, and people are afraid because of the threats to Medicaid cuts. There were people writing in and said $880 billion would devastate me, but even small cuts to services, my whole family, fragile architecture of our finances, if you just pull out the transportation money that my disabled child uses, that will crumble my financial world. And so when you talk about the bigger cuts, we know the math. Many states who expanded Medicare have a trigger that if it goes below 90%, all the Medicare expansion goes off in that state and millions of Americans will be hurt. That's not right, guys. That's not right. And so this is the choices we have before us. Our veterans and the VA. I'm mad at you now. You made me get very emotional with your story. We read John McCain's story. We read the stories of the poems of the unknown soldier looking over us and saying, what are you doing to the Gold Star families? What are you doing to the veterans? Are you living up to your promises that you made? Well, right now, with the cuts of tens of thousands, over 80,000 veterans who work for the VA, but even more, because about 20% or so of all federal workers are veterans. And we read stories from veterans in America who are shaken by what's happening, who are losing their jobs but yet all they want to do is serve. They're not what they're being called. They're not leeches. They're not criminals. They shouldn't be degraded for wanting to continue to serve their nation. This is what we're talking about. Our veterans, our seniors, our health care, our financial security going forward. I asked the question to all those people who voted for Donald Trump, who believed in him that he would lower your grocery prices. I asked you, look at your financial self. Are you better off than you were 72 years ago financially? Well, the answer for most people who believed in him is no, because he didn't set out to do anything to lower prices. He set out to rename the Gulf of Mexico, to threaten Canada, to say I'm going to take over Greenland. He's done a lot of things, 140 executive orders. Many of them actually drive up your costs, make it more expensive to enroll in the ACA, reduce a lot of the tax credits there. He's increased your costs. He's taxed your bedrock services. Stock market tumbles. Your 401k accounts are less. Inflation is up. Consumer confidence is down. This is what the voices we brought into this chamber, the voices of our constituents, red states, blue states, the voices of Democrats and Republicans, Republican governors, Democratic governors. We brought all the people that are saying, no, this is a moral moment, not left or right, right or wrong. And so I've tried over the last 25 hours and 1 minute to center the conversation back on what will we do of good conscience. People who are saying, I serve this country, I risked my life, shouldn't be able to keep my job. People are saying, this country once made itself the envy of the world because we invested in high quality education for every child. I don't like what's going on at the end of the Department of Education. People are saying, I worked harder than I ever have, but the prices on everything in my life are getting higher. People who are saying that the America I learned about in school, the one where people's rights are protected, the people are saying that why are we yet again going through another healthcare battle that threatens millions of people, the people are saying that I'm worried about the financial security and the future of my country, the voices of folks. And so I end by saying simply this, where I started was John Lewis. I don't know how to solve this. I don't know how to stop us from going down this road. Chuck Schumer's now told me that they're greasing the skids to do these things. I'm sorry, but I know who does have the power. The people of the United States of America. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. It is time to heed the words of the man I began this whole thing with, John Lewis. I beg folks to take his example of his early days where he made himself determined to show his love for his country at a time the country didn't love him. to love this country so much, to be such a patriot that he endured beatings savagely on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, at lunch counters, on freedom rides. He said he had to do something. He would not normalize a moment like this. He would not just go along with business as usual. He wouldn't know how to solve it. But there's one thing that he would do that I hope we all can do, that I think I did a little bit of tonight. He said for us to go out and cause some good trouble, necessary trouble, to redeem the soul of our nation. I want you to redeem the dream. Let's be bold in America, not demean and degrade Americans, not divide us against each other. Let's be bolder in America with a vision that inspires, with hope that starts with the people of the United States of America. That's how this country started. We, the people. Let's get back to the ideals that others are threatening. Let's get back to our founding documents, that those imperfect geniuses had some very special words at the end of the Declaration of Independence. Was one of the greatest in all of humanity declarations of interdependence. When our founder said we must mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. We need that now from all Americans. This is a moral moment. It's not left or right, it's right or wrong. Let's get in good trouble. My friend, Madam President, I yield the floor. Madam President, thank you to the pages, thank you to the parliamentarian staff, thank you to the clerks, thank you to the doorkeepers. There are so many people that make this place special. I kept you up all night, kept you up 24 hours. I just want to say thank you. Thank you, everybody.
So today, Wisconsinites fended off an unprecedented attack on our democracy. That's right. Our fair elections and our Supreme Court. And Wisconsins stood up and said loudly that justice does not have a price. Our courts are not for sale.